Hello, welcome to Fretboard Roadmap. Do you want to become vastly more familiar with the neck, build your technique, and train your ear? Well, that's what this course is about. We've called it Fretboard Roadmap because we're using 3-on-a-string scales all the way up and down the neck to get more familiar with the neck. You're gonna learn a lot about different areas of the neck that you can dig into, that you can really be musical with. 3-on-a-string scales, some might consider them to be sort of the other way to learn the neck when you compared with the caged system. A lot of people like the cage system. I love the cage system. 3-on-a-string scales are great for their own reasons. The cage system is great because you can see chords and arpeggios and scales sort of on one another, on top of one another. 3-on-a-string scales are great because they're a great way to span the neck and sort of play in position, but also get out of position and blend positions really easily. I find that easier to do with 3-on-a-string scales. During each one of these sessions, we're going to be learning a scale pattern, a 3-on-a-string scale pattern, and then we're going to learn a sequence to go along with the particular pattern. Week by week, you're going to start noticing that, oh man, we're learning a lot of patterns, but we're also learning a lot of sequences. Of course you can mix and match. And in the later lessons in this course, we are going to be mixing and matching. We also have a unique backing track for each one of the positions. Each one of the positions are going to start on a different note of the G major scale. Each one of the tracks are all in the key of G, so we're playing in the key of G for all 10 weeks, but all of the tracks are based on a different note of the G major scale also. So not only will you learn the position, you'll get to go up and down the neck, we'll get to examine the notes in each position, which again are all going to be in the key of G. You'll also get to play over different tonal centers using the 3-on-a-string patterns. It's a great way, again, to train your ear and discover different sounds that can be utilized with these 3-on-a-string scales. So, prerequisites. What do you need to know as you start taking this course? What is a good idea to know? Well, really, not much. You should be reasonably comfortable with alternate picking, reasonably comfortable with legato playing. If legato playing and alternate picking are something that you struggle with, you're definitely going to get a lot better with these techniques during this course. But I'm also teaching a course, and these 2 lessons are archived now. I'm also teaching a course called Skill of the Week. If you go to Skill of the Week, I have 2 lessons that you might be interested in. The first is on alternate picking, and the second is on legato playing, hammer-ons and pull-offs, which we'll be using a lot of. So, I cover more of the basics of hammer-ons and pull-offs and alternate picking in that series. So check out Skill of the Week if you want a little bit more of a primer there. That said, we're not making any tempo requirements for these scale patterns. So if you have to play really slow, good. You're going to learn the neck probably better than someone who's playing really fast. You're going to learn your notes probably better than someone who's playing really fast. So don't beat yourself up if you have to play these things slow. No big deal. Okay. Let's start by learning our pattern. Every week for the first 7 weeks, these lessons are going to go about the same. We're going to learn the pattern. We're going to study the notes within the pattern. Say them out loud as we're playing it. Then we're going to learn the sequence. Well, first we're going to practice the pattern to a metronome, kind of bring it up to tempo. Again, not super fast, not super slow either. Good mid-tempo to get us familiar with the pattern. Then we're going to work on the sequence. Same thing. Play it to tempo. And then we'll take it to a drone track. So we can get used to playing this scale and the sequence in time and out of time. So we'll take it to the click, take it to the drone track. The drone track is your opportunity to play around with the scale pattern without being tied to a tempo. It's kind of cool to combine the tempo and the drone track also. So you can combine the click and the drone track if you'd like. That's just another way to work, but we won't be doing that in these live sessions. And then finally, after we've done the click and the drone track, we'll go to our unique backing track for the week. That's what the first 7 weeks are going to look like. So this should be fun. Let's get right at it. Here is starting on G, the first of the 3 in a string scale patterns that we'll be working on. 3, 5, 7, starting on your low E string. Then 3, 5, 7 on your A string. Then 4, 5, 7. Then another 4, 5, 7. So there's the first line. We have 2 3, 5, 7s and 2 4, 5, 7s. 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7. For now, I'm using all alternate picking. When we're first learning these sequences, that's what we'll do. Sorry, when we first learn the scale, that's what we'll do. Sequences are going to vary. 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7. Then we've got 2 5, 7, 8s. 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 8. So that's on the way up. If you think of it in groups of 2 strings, it's quite easy to memorize. 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7. Then 4, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7. Then 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 8. Okay, so on the way up, here's what we got. Again. Once more. On the way down. Same thing on the way down. All right, let's examine the notes. We have the notes written. Let's name them. And all the notes for all the weeks are going to be in the key of G. So we have G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. That doesn't mean you won't get familiar with, well, you won't get as familiar with some of the other notes that aren't in the key of G, like F, for example, or A flat, G sharp. But knowing the 3 in a string scales in the key of G, and knowing the fact that you'll know this note this week, you'll know that that note will be an E. It's pretty easy then to figure out, oh, that's an F. As you start developing more points of reference in your playing, it's easy to take those to different notes or to form new points of reference. So if you know this is an E, you know that's an F. Or if you know this is an E, you know it's an E flat or a D sharp. So that's how we're going to approach learning with the 3 in a string scales, learning the names of the notes with 3 in a string scales. So we've got G, A, B. Very important that as you're learning this, you are saying the notes aloud. G, A, B, C, D, E. G, A, B, C, D, E. Look at the strings, look at the fret numbers, look at the fingers, and say the note names so that you connect. Ah, this is an A. G, A, B, C, D, E. 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 What's this note? D. What's this note? C, A, B, G. G, A, B, C, D, E. F sharp, G, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D. 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 G, A, B, C, D, E. F sharp, G, A, B, C, D. E, F sharp, G. What's this note? F sharp. What's this note? G. If you just were to play this note, oh, it's a G. Cool. There's a lot of different ways to learn your notes, but these are great ways to do it. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. All right. All the way up one more time, naming our notes. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, B, A, G, F sharp, E, D, C, B, A, G, F sharp, E, D, C, B, A, G. Up and down, making those mind, finger, ear connections. Very important. All right, let's take this scale and let's work on the click. So they're notated at 90 beats per minute. That doesn't mean you have to start there, but I think I'm going to start there. Notated in triplets. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7, G, A, B, G, A, B, 1, 2, 3. Alternate picking, strict alternate picking for now. All right, push it up a little bit, 95. Again, we're not going for blazing speed, we're going for clean, we're going for musical, we're going for on beat. Especially as we're learning these maybe for the first time. Push it up another 5. Five. sure you're not tensing up. 120. Okay, so that's how you want to, you might not go from 90 to 120. You might go from 70 to 100 or 120 to 200. I don't know. But do it in a way that you can warm up your hand, that you can know the notes, that you can know the position, and play it cleanly. Yes.
Yeah, I want to throw this in just so you could address it. We did have a question from If It's Rockin' wanting to know, why are we playing faster when we should be learning notes?
Well, good question. We are, I've detailed two different ways to dig into the scale. Earlier, we did go over the names of the notes. And that is a mindset that you want to learn when you're learning the scale. Once you know the scale and you've internalized those notes, you want to dig into the pattern like this. The transition from knowing note by note to knowing note by note within a pattern is very, very valuable. For example, if I know that this is a D, and I know it's connected to this pattern, I know this is a D. I know we're playing in the key of G. I know D is the fifth over the G tonal center. Then I not only know that this is a D, but I know how to connect it to a nearby pattern. And therefore, I know how to use it. It's not just enough to learn single notes, but we want to tie it into the pattern, and we want to connect our brain's knowledge of what those notes names are to the muscle memory that will develop as we practice these scale patterns. Does that make sense? Any other questions or comments?
Not right now.
Okay.
I think it is a little, most people are finding it a little bit too fast for them, but I think if they start at the slower tempo, they'll be able to work it out.
Sure. Yeah, this doesn't have to be the tempos. Like I said, you can start at 60. We could go, let's start at 70 on the triplet feel. Triplet, triplet, ta, ta, ta. Triplet, 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 triplet. Okay. So, again, speed is not important. Cleanliness is important. Connecting, and just as we did earlier, we learned the names of the notes. We studied those names. And just because I did it in 10 minutes earlier, it doesn't mean that we've blown past it. We need to be thinking about this, and we'll think about it more as we go towards the drone track, we go towards other stuff, because we're going to start using our ears and making sense of, oh, this C note sounds like this over the drone, or this C note sounds like this over the track. So we're going to be stopping and doing all sorts of mental note learning, imprinting exercises as we go. Yes?
I've got a question here for you. I know this is your favorite question, but people are wanting to know, how can you make this easier with little hands?
You just got to practice. Joe Satriani has tiny, tiny hands, and he's a master of 3-string scales. They're big stretches. I will say this, don't play with your thumb over or you won't be able to reach. See? I have big hands and I can't reach it. You have to have your thumb back so that you can utilize the largest reach possible. But you know what? Google Sean Lane live or Joe Satriani. Sean Lane has these tiny stubby fingers, and he's one of the greatest shredders of all time. Not that we're going for shredding, but it should just show you that tiny fingers doesn't matter. Tiny hands, fat hands, big hands. If Phil Keaggy, we're having Phil Keaggy out, and he's missing a finger, and he's one of the greatest guitar players of all time. You can get around it, and you just have to practice. The main thing, though, I would say is resist the urge to play with your thumb over. Have it back. See the difference in stretch? Huge.
Okay, thank you for addressing that.
Cool. All right, let's move on to the sequence. So the sequence is in groups of 4, and we're going to be descending the string as we ascend the scale. It's kind of cool. So we're going to play 7, 7, 5, 3. Then 7, 7, 5, 3. So already sounds cool. That's the sequence. And then we're gonna go all the way up the scale doing that. So that would be 7, 7, 5, 4. Got 2 of those. So 7, 7, 5, 3. Got 2 of those. Then 7, 7, 5, 3. 2 of those. 7, 7, 5, 4. Sorry. Then we have 8, 8, 7, 5. Okay, so we have, if you look at it in groups of 2 strings, just like we did the scale pattern, the sequence will fall into place. Again, don't worry if you're not getting these right away. You've got a whole week to apply these things. Okay, so all the way up. One more time. Then on the way down, we repeat the lower note of the 3 notes per string, and we ascend. Okay. There you go. There's our sequence. So we have our scale, played in triplets. We have our sequence, played in groups of 4, all alternate picked. 16th notes, 1 E end, a 2 E end, a 3 E end. So when we set our click up and practice the sequence, that's what we're going to be going for. take it to the click next.
We have a request if you could please play it slow one time
will.
through.
Sure.
Okay.
The sequence slow?
The sequence, yes.
Yeah, let's take it to the click and we'll go super slow. We'll go without the click first. I'm going to do it one more time, slow. Now watch this jump here, this position shift on the way down. Right there. That's hard to get used to. You gotta stretch it. That's worth practicing a few times over again. And it does the same thing on the way up. Although you have that natural thing happen, it's harder on the way down for some reason. So, on the way down. Another one there. That switch. Any other questions while I tune real quick?
We are caught up on questions for the moment.
Cool.
But as a reminder for everyone, if you do have questions, go ahead and get them in, and we'll have a little bit more extended Q&A here towards the end of the hour. And we'll be addressing questions that relate to the material first, but if you have some general guitar questions, we can get to those hopefully at the very end.
Sure, and I will also like to remind you, we have guided practice videos provided for you at jamplay.com that are shorter than the full live event, and that are going to walk you through exactly, they're going to give you a practice plan for these things. So don't feel like upon just watching me play them or watching me practice or demonstrate them here that you should know them. You won't if you don't already. I'm demonstrating them with the intent that you would go back and watch the guided practice videos, that you might watch this again. You might watch pieces of this again and try to, look at my hand position, look at my picking position, look at all these things. We're not really gonna cover, like I said at the beginning, we're not gonna dive into basic technique. Our goal here is to learn the fretboard, train our ears, and build technique, but we're not starting from square one at all with the technique. So make sure that you have that mindset going in. Simply by watching these or even practicing them once, it's not going to do much for you. Dive into the guided practice videos. Dive into the full curriculum of this course, and you'll learn this stuff. Absolutely. This live event is designed to get the information out there. Once the information is out there, once you've seen it done, then the natural progression is to go to the guided practice, look at the practice materials, embrace the practice materials, and then practice and internalize it. Okay, so let's take the sequence to the click now. We'll start a little slower. We'll start at 70 beats per minute. And this again, if you haven't learned this, don't expect to start at the tempos that I'm starting at. I'm demonstrating after you've learned the sequence, how you'll want to practice it. Again, the tempo range could be different, but you want to slowly creep up and get really familiar with it. Da 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 da. Let's go up to 80. 5 to 10 beats per minute increments once you know the sequence or scale. I'm rushing it. Go 90. Go up to 100 or 10. 100. $110. Pushing it there as far as my cleanliness. Play it a couple more times. I may need to back it back to 105 and then push up to 110. I feel pretty good now. I had to loosen up a little bit. Push it a little more. Probably my ceiling for today, 120. All right, so again, ranges will vary. Some of you may be slower, some of you may be faster. The key is that you're clean and that you have learned and internalized not only the individual notes in the pattern like we worked on earlier, but the pattern itself, that you're very comfortable moving up and down the pattern. Now, we get to have some fun with the drone. This is a G drone. And if you haven't worked with drones before, they are one of the most fun things in the world, and they're so educational and cool. What we're going to do is now we don't have a tempo. We can just play. And we want to be thinking and naming our notes, stopping on certain notes and going, ah, that's an A, ah, that's a B, and taking a special note, pun, taking a special consideration for how that note sounds over the drone, which is the tonal center we're playing over. So if I play this scale, G, A, how does A sound over that? It's cool sounding. That's the second. Go find all my A's. G, A, B, I've just found all my A's. Drill that A a little bit. Go back down to the G. How does that sound? You know, what does it do to your emotions when you hear it? G, A. G, A. G, A. How about A and B over the drone? Stay in position. Find more A's and B's. There's another one. Or A and B, sorry. What could you do with those two notes over the drone? Maybe G, A, and B. You could do something with those out of the scale. Yeah, how about something like this? So I'm not naming the notes every time I strike a string, but what I'm doing, I'm being mindful of what the note names are that I'm playing and how they sound, how they work over this constant drone. So important. This right here, what we're doing right here, is the best way to learn your notes. It is the best way because you're not only learning the note name, you're learning its function in a musical context, even though it's simple. Extremely, extremely helpful. You could go on. Let's find an F sharp. Well, F sharp and G, how those interact over each other. F sharp, there's another one down here, right? If we play the scale. So if there's an F sharp here, there's a G here. So that's an E, right? E, F sharp, G. A. B. F sharp. B, C, B, A, B. How does that sound over the drone? I'm going from C, B, A, F sharp up to the G. think more whole scale. So fun to play over the drone. Let's play it nice and slow and sort of dwell on different notes. What note is that? That sounds kind of cool. That is a D. Sounds great over the G drone. It's a strong note. The D is a strong note over the G. F sharp is an unsettling note. A is kind of an unsettling note. They want to go here or here. B is a very nice note over the G drone. B and F sharp create a nice resolve to the root. See how I'm connecting the note names with the ear? Even there, playing a little bit faster, choosing notes to sort of rest on and notes to pass through. The third, the B. I wanted to land on that B. I'm using the scale pattern almost verbatim. I'm sequencing it. But the goal is to land on that strong note and then go down to the root. Right there, I took those strong notes out of the scale pattern. That's a B, that's a G, and a D. This is how you learn your notes. Connect it to your ear. After you get done doing this, if you guys get to the point where you can do this stuff with the scale, with the drone, with the note names, you're going to learn the names of your notes. Absolutely. Questions? Comments?
We have a question from Rescue here. I'm
Okay.
saying that right. And the question, where'd it go? There it is. Do you abandon the scale fingering when finding the note over the shift?
Yes. When you go to playing with the drone, you're going to start discovering ways that you can play and phrase, and absolutely throw the fingering out the window. The fingering is very helpful when you're learning the position. And it is helpful also if you get lost. You know, if you're up here playing that with your first finger and you need to connect it to the rest of the position, well, then it might be helpful to go back to the original fingering and then find out, okay, there's where, you know, I was playing this note, I'm a bit out, I'm out to sea a little bit, I don't know how it connects. By going back to the original fingering, you'll be able to real quick connect that again and then know how to get around. That's why the patterns are so helpful. Great question.
Okay, and then a question from 9 Fathoms over watching on YouTube. And I wanted to know if you could tell us what you use to construct your drone track, and does it have a metronome built in?
It does not have a metronome built in, but I can play... I can hit the drone track and then hit the metronome as a separate app. You know, so if I wanted to be... If I wanted to do stuff like that, I can. And I'm using, stop. The drone tracks are available in the guided practice section in the supplemental material of this series for every one of the tonal centers that we're playing over. So G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and then ultimately G. To create the drone tracks, I used Logic, and I just played a G note on a synth, generic synth, turned off all the fluff, and then I stretched that MIDI note out to 15 minutes and hit bounce and created the drone. And I did that for each one of the notes. For playing it back, I'm using a program called Transcribe. I use that for all my teaching and for figuring out stuff and everything. It's great because you can change keys and tempos, which isn't that useful to you right now because I've provided all that stuff in case you don't have Transcribe. But if you go to or Google 7th String, I think it's 7thstring.com or 7thstring.net, you can buy it. It's a very cheap program, very, very useful for figuring things out, for playing things back. And then the metronome app I'm using, I just found on the App Store. I don't even know what it's called. It's just called Metronome. But there's tons of metronomes that you can get for Mac and for PC as well. I've got Transcribe and a great metronome on both my Windows machine and my Mac laptop. And so you can just play them at the same time, play the click over the drone. That's how I'm doing that. But I made them using Logic. You could make them using anything that has MIDI capabilities and even a halfway decent synth sound. You can get it.
Okay, and we have another question here. This is from Jeff, looks like. To begin to learn the notes themselves, would you recommend using a tuner and watch it as you play, or memorize the notes first, then recall them from memory as you play?
You could do that. I think a better way to do it might be, well, if you don't have an understanding of the little black dots, then yeah, that could be a good way to do it. If you do have an understanding of the black dots, using the provided tab in correlation with the black dots that we had up earlier is great. The other thing you can do is you can go to a note map, and we've got note maps available on jamplay.com, but you can also just Google note map and then click on images for guitar note map. And then once you learn the pattern, you can look at the note map while you're playing the pattern and then commit those notes to memory that way. That's another great way to do it.
Okay, that catches us up on the questions for now.
Cool. All right, so we've gone through, we've learned the pattern, we've learned the sequence, we've learned the notes. The other way you can learn your notes too, if you have to go back, prior to learning the pattern, is your open string names, and so you can count up in half steps. But having an actual fretboard map is helpful, which is again available on jamplay.com. I find fretboard maps, they're handy for the initial that's what note it is, but they don't work for memorizing. The thing that works for memorizing is what we're doing here, which is taking a pattern and applying it and constantly going back and, that's what D sounds like. Oh, that's what E sounds like over the tonal center. And we're going to be doing that in 7 different ways over the next several weeks. You're really going to have a great understanding of how things are going to sound. It's going to be awesome. Okay, so we have learned the pattern, we learned the sequence, we practiced with the click, got our hands all warmed up, built our technique a little bit, trained our ear, went back to the note names over the drone. Now we get to dig into the backing track. And the backing track is just a nice chord progression over a moderate tempo. And your job over the backing track is just to play the scale. Play the scale pattern and see if you can be somewhat musical with it. It's okay if you're linear at this point. It's okay if it sounds like a scale. Again, we're learning how different notes sound in the context of the music we're playing over. So if you want to stop for a while on B and just hear how B sounds over the track, if you want to stop on B and then go to G and come up with this little lick or this little riff that happens, great. I'm going to do all those sorts of things. And then I'm going to do the same thing in my mind as I did over the drone track. And when I stop on a note that I think sounds kind of cool over the progression, I'm going to make a mental note. Oh, I'm playing a C, or oh, I'm playing an F sharp. whatever it is, and constantly be having that interaction between your eyes, your brain, your ear, and your fingers. Here's the track. Oh, that sounds kind of cool over that chord. Oh, I'm noticing the chords are changing. The chords in this are G, C, and D. Let me play rhythmically over the track. We'll call out the chords. Ultimately, though, playing over this track and learning which notes sound over which chords. Oh, obviously, when you're playing a G chord, the G note, and you're playing a D chord, the D note, but there's all sorts of other possibilities. For example, the note F sharp sounds sort of unsettled over G, the G chord, but it's going to sound fantastic over the D chord, and it's going to sound weird over the C chord. So here's the rhythm. G, C, G, D, C, G, D, C, G. And then it starts over again. D. And it goes on for a while. So now what we want to do is going in sort of blind. We know the pattern. We know the notes. Now it's really time to engage our ear over a changing chord progression. And this might sound a little awkward for a while. That's okay. This is how you train your ear to sound cool over real music. Make notes of notes we think sound cool. That sounds kind of cool. That sounds better. G over C sounds good. Or C, D, E, F sharp. That sounds kind of cool over the C. The F sharp sounds great over the D. There's G. A over B sounds a little weird. B over G sounds great. I like that sequence there. G, B, C, D. Okay, I'm gonna do that a couple times. Play it over the changes and see how it works. You don't even need to necessarily know the names of the chords. You're just taking 4 notes and being as musical as you can with it. sequence a little bit there? I found myself on G. Oops, wrong note. Oh, that sounds cool over the C. That's an E note over the C. That C over the D doesn't sound so good. So you start to realize, like, once you are familiar with the chord progression, and it might not be a bad idea to maybe write on a piece of paper when you hear those chords changing and what they are. But once you hear the chords changing, you get a feel for how they change. And then you get a feel for which, like I landed on that C over the D note or the D chord and it just didn't sound good. So you won't do that. Like you know now, I know now, that landing on C isn't going to be good when you're on D. So land on D or land on F sharp or land on, whatever. Make notes of which notes sound good where. There's a lot to dig into here. And there's a lot to experiment with if you really want to be musical. Questions?
I have a question here from Rescue again. And the question is, should we be concerned about muting at this point?
Yeah, make it sound as good as you can. I cover muting a lot in Skill of the Week. We've talked about muting every week, I believe. But yeah, absolutely. Make it sound great. Like I said at the beginning of the course today, we want to build our technique. We want to train our ears. We want to learn the neck. And part of building your technique is being conscious of things like muting. Absolutely. Part of great alternate picking is muting. Part of great legato playing is muting. Part of great scale playing. Part of great chord playing. Muting is involved in every part of great guitar playing. So absolutely be concerned about it. Don't let yourself get lazy either as you're working on the different aspects that we've gone over today. Good point. Thanks for bringing that up.
Got one that just came in here. Give me a second.
Sure.
I'll get it up on the screen. Okay, I didn't have time to edit this, but
That's okay.
we'll see what we got here. This is from Ricky. I'm doing 2 beginner, intermediate course and badge in parallel right now. Blues Roots to Rock and Skill of the Week. This one looks very good. I like to vary my practice a bit, and I think I would be able to integrate this one in my schedule. Would you recommend me to wait or go ahead or just focus more on the 2 others? Maybe too personal a question. Will this course be much more difficult than the 2 aforementioned?
This course is a definite large step up from the particularly Skill of the Week. This, first of all, awesome, man. You're working through the courses. That's great. I would say this. As much as I love to have you live, and going through this stuff, I think it's perfectly okay to watch these and get inspired and maybe ask some questions. But I wouldn't actually practice this stuff. I wouldn't actually spend time practicing until you've completed the stuff that you're doing. The Blues Roots to Rock, and Skill of the Week. If anything, I would do each one of those courses one at a time and really focus on the guided practice that's in those. You think about it, you have about 30 weeks of material between these 3 courses. And you're going to get more out of them if you are very disciplined about following the practice routines included in each one of the courses. If you pile too many things on your plate, you do a lot of things not as well because you lack a little bit of focus. This course and the other courses you're mentioning are designed with kind of this this bracketing mentality in mind where, okay, for the next 10 weeks, I'm working on blues roots to rock. And I'm not going to practice. It's okay to watch some other stuff and get inspired and maybe kind of put on the what's next or wish list sort of back burner. But when you're really engaged in practicing some material from a course, don't practice anything else. Make it your goal to digest and perfect to the best of your abilities the material that you're taking in one course at a time.
Great. Okay, I think that's all the questions we have tonight.
Okay. Well, guys, this is going to be a roll up your sleeves and really get in tune with the neck, build your technique, and train your ear. We're going to be doing this many more times. I look forward to teaching you many more patterns, many more sequences, and expanding your view of the neck. We'll see you next week for Starting on A.